you know, people haven't seen anything yet in terms of what can come out of Edmonton.
One of the first things we started discovering when we started playing together was just this web of people that are willing to help each other out.
People are lining up to see you because they don't want to miss what you're going to do next.
Something I can't quite put my finger on. He's in the other room, and you know I don't
mind. We're just a loud, ridiculous, not very good punk band. Yeah, it's basically it. I've been really into punk music since I was really young. It was just kind of something that kind of blew my mind in terms of like the instrumentation and just like the ideas of how you can express this and that, as well as the idea of like having a, you know, a community that supports the idea that you can be yourself and play this crazy, freeing kind of music and stuff. So that's sort of what drew me into it.
So I started out, I was just playing acoustic, just at various places around Edmonton, doing it solo. And then my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, she started playing with me, playing piano and playing keys. And that kind of started a process of like, me kind of getting bored with like the acoustic stuff and then getting into like more electronic music. So you know, when I got my first Mac laptop, you know, GarageBand, I was on that and kind of realized what was possible with computers.
We actually started out as Jeremy Podlowski just by myself. I was playing some gigs around Edmonton, and we realized that people don't trust the guy named Jeremy Podlowski, so we banded together.
Especially not
me
me.
and Greg banded together, and we became Death by Robot, which was actually the first Jeremy Podlowski album that I came out with was called Death by Robot.
In, you know, early junior high, I got fascinated with the drums, and a friend of the family ran a thrift store and sold me a drum set for $30. Like basically just gave it to us. And then later on in high school, my high school buddies and I had a band and we needed a demo, and out of necessity more than anything, I got into recording.
I'm the owner and general manager and talent booker, etc. at Wonder Bar. I've been doing it for 4 years, closing in on 4. Our 4th anniversary is coming up. We do 365 shows a year, so I've done a lot of shows.
My name is Jesse Northey, and I have a band called Jesse and the Dandelions. Jesse and the Dandelions, as of recently, we're a 5-piece indie rock band, and we just moved to Edmonton from the Lethbridge.
We started, I guess, almost 3 years ago now. Mike and myself were playing in another band, basically a backup band for a singer-songwriter. And as that project started to deteriorate, we sort of realized we had a common interest in not only sort of the newer folk punk stuff going on, but also old folk music going all the way back to Woody Guthrie.
I do a bunch of work with Dead City Records, and I'm also in a band called Whiskey Wagon. With Dead City, basically the dream is to get kids out of the basement and just get their albums pressed and get them out there with a little bit of press, and just to make sure, you know, that they're getting gigs and see, you know that they have the support that like a community should give an artist. Because, you know, I wasn't getting it when I was in my band Whiskey Wagon, so I just wanted to, you know, let musicians that I thought were worthy know that someone's got their back, right?
Well, we started playing in our basement, and we kind of thought that we could maybe make it work outside of the basement.
Yeah.
And it was sort of an experiment to see if we could make a 2-piece sound like a 5-piece. Because we met playing in a 5-piece band, and then that disbanded, and we were left.
I don't know, we started off, I don't know, playing as a three-piece, I guess. Just me, Jeremy, and Nolan. And started off different, it was a lot more punk rock.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, and I don't know, yeah, slowly we got like into a sound that we found, and then we got this guy ripping the fucking lead guitar, and that was fucking big help, added a lot.
Well, we started, Kelly and I anyway, started playing together in, I guess, like 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, and high school we did like a couple of acoustic shows and learned some covers and stuff like that. And then we decided we wanted to kind of expand it. So then we started looking on Kijiji for
the greatest guitar player.
Yeah, for the best guitar player.
Which is where we met Oliver. So
yeah, so that's where we met Oliver, was on Kijiji. And then the other band members just sort of fell into our lap.
Okay, well, I'm Brother Octopus.
I'm Lady Friend.
And we're an Edmonton-based band that makes zany electronic rock music. We've been together since 2011, and we've released 2 EPs, and we're working on a full length right now.
We had a new member join who was the bass player. His name was Scott Splay, who was also a grad of the U of A. And we were all like actors as well. So he had gone through the same acting program at the U of A, so we all kind of spoke the same language. One day just decided I'm not going to play guitar, I'm going to just sing and like dance around and whatever. And that's kind of when Christian Hansen and the Autistics was kind of born.
I started off like, you know, into a lot of like punk rock and stuff, but you know, a lot of the earlier stuff that people get into, like, you know, Wire, Sex Pistols, The Clash and stuff, but also a lot of super poppy stuff like the Buzzcocks, the Ramones, and Green Day and whatnot. But at the same time, I was also super attracted to like noise rock when we started playing in the band, because this is around this time I started listening to stuff like Sonic Youth and My Bloody Valentine and like Lusky and whatnot, and just the idea that they were expressing in terms of like all this craziness really appealed to me, you know, because it felt really uncompromising.
We like layers, we like big sound and adding instruments and bringing new elements and new textures and new feels to our music as well. I would say we're really influenced by, we have a bunch of different influences, but just talking about being layered in music, Arcade Fire is one of our big influences. Queen,
Foster the People.
Foster the People, yeah. Nathan's a big Clash fan. We have a bunch of different musical influences that come into Death by Robot, and that's kind of what I like about it. We never go into a songwriting session being like, okay, we're gonna write an alternative rock song. We're kind of like, okay, let's try this, and then so like our new single that's out right now, Blue Skies. It has some really hard rock elements to it, but also has some ska elements to it as well. So we really like to bring all of our different influences together to make a sound. But you can sum that sound up as indie rock.
Yeah, like we just started off playing here and just around the city, and we started playing a bit more festivals, like Sasquatch Gathering outside of town. We did Up and Downtown, the Music and Arts Festival, for their first year, and then we got like a surprise opening for Joel Plaskett.
Yeah, mostly we're just playing as many shows as we can, but there's been the odd, like the one that we're playing here with the Pack AD tonight. It's crazy.
Everything, yeah, just sort of flying by the seat of our pants, I guess, and trying not to die, which is good. Yes. I like life.
So I started looking around for like real estate. What I wanted was a giant concrete box. I was hoping for a standalone building at first, but I live really close to the studio, and basically on my way to the grocery store one day, I sort of poked my head in this building and noticed that the basement was empty. And it was a giant concrete box.
We do have a Wonder Bar. We started doing some shows, 2 a week, probably sometimes 3. We had another talent booker, and then I realized quickly that once you become a place that has a good reputation, there's no lack of bands that want to play there. Also, nobody comes to my bar unless it's a show, so I may as well do 7 a week. We do a little less than that now. We do a comedy night. We also do trivia night. Other than that, live music all the time.
Well, we opened for Tupelo Honey at one time, which is weird for us because
We don't fit with people on.
but it was fun nonetheless. We played a festival, the Works Festival downtown. We've even been featured inside Alternative Press magazine, which is a bigger magazine, and also we've topped some of the college radio charts, which is something we appreciate.
Dead City's all over the map with, you know, whoever I think is worthy of, you know, being on the albums and being, you know, somebody to produce. Basically, I look for people who like really want it, and people who are struggling, you know, and just people who, you know, would like to, you know, add to the Dead City community and be a part of that.
We put on like house shows and stuff and have lots of bands through that way, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
Met a lot of bands through doing that.
There's keyboards, and it's very pop oriented, strong like melodies and like kind of vocal lines and stuff like that. A couple guitars, bass and drums, so it's pretty upbeat, fun music.
The idea of don't give a fuck is just like, you know, just do what you want, which sounds basic, right? But at the same time, it was kind of a big deal for us when we were younger because we were like 18 or 19. And the thing is like a lot of people in our age bracket at the time, as well as our community, because we all kind of knew the same people growing up and played in all the same bands. So a lot of them kind of stuck to they were very raucous in their ways. They kind of played in a lot of bands and wrote a lot of songs that kind of stuck to a sort of formula, so to speak. And it's just like, I kind of wanted free expression, you know? Like, and I mean, like, even though that's something that goes away the older you get and the more experience you get as a musician, at the same time, though, I still think like you should play what you want to play.
So we just started playing around Edmonton a lot. Like, where did we play? We would play Wonder Bar when it was like first Wonder Bar. We played what was the Velvet Underground, which is now Bricks, which is underneath the Starlight. We played weird little venues that don't even exist anymore, just playing kind of as much as we could. And then at the same time, I was working on recording our first record here at Edmonton Studio with Doug Organ. And then through the process of that, the sound of what would become Christian Hands and the Autistics really took shape.
So yeah, we recorded our first EP, Mammal Pants. When was that? 2012?
Yes, September.
Yeah. September 2012. So we recorded that, and it's been out for a little while. There was never a big release of that album because it was our first album and we just wanted to get it out there, and so you can get it online and stuff, but it's and we also have hard copies, but and now we've recorded
about half of our new record, and
the new EP that we want to release, which will be called Slew when it actually comes out. So that one, there will be a big release for that one, a big party.
Adam Thompson from Sonic, who was the program director, he contacted me on MySpace. So he said, yeah, I want you to be Band of the Month for 2009 February, and we want to use Cocaine Trade as the song.
Cowbell, marimba.
You know, when we first got that, you know, we all kind of looked at each other and went, what the hell is this? You know, and he was a great guy who was attracting a crowd, and he was very friendly. We just gave it another chance. Gave it another chance, and it grew on us, and kind of went, this is the different thing that is going on in our city that I think it's important to highlight.
Yeah, it's just my love that all the hipsters like the dance music.
Well, I feel that it's a great thing for radio to put local music on the air. I feel that it's more important to put good music on the air and to challenge local music to be so good we can't ignore it.
by the time that month was over and it was like time for us to play our showcase gig, which was at the pawn shop, it was like, it's sold out in like 5 minutes. Like there was, I just remember like being totally blown away. Like there was a line around the block. It was just crazy. Kind of about a year after that, we added another member to the band, Ava Jane Marcus, who kind of, once she was part of it, we were like a foursome. We made a video for Cocaine Trade and played more around Edmonton. We did a bunch of tours. We toured to Winnipeg, Vancouver, all over the place, and it was going really well. And then we kind of reached a time where we're like, you know, maybe we can take this like even bigger than it is. Myself and Molly decided we're gonna move to Toronto. Ava and Scott decided that that's not what they wanted to do. They wanted to do other stuff. So we ended up moving to Toronto. They ended up remaining in Alberta. And it was a kind of that moment where things really shifted for our band.
You want to do something that is unique, but if it's so out there that it's not mainstream and people who are mainstream music lovers can't appreciate it, you ultimately have to go somewhere with a bigger population where you can attract that following on a more regular basis and hone your craft by playing in front of large groups of people.
I don't know, it's annoying. It's annoying both ways, because either they'll go to Vancouver and say, no, we're from Edmonton, or they'll go to Vancouver and be like, we're from Vancouver now. And you're like, no, you're not.
Just stay where you say you're from.
Yeah.
Not that every band that leaves is the worst, it's just sad.
Yeah, it comes with a bit of heartbreak. Just like, you have this almost small town thing going that's really great. And people just don't want to stay and stick it out.
When I lived in Lethbridge, I felt the same way. I felt like there was no industry here. Maybe I should move to somewhere like Edmonton where there's even just a little bit more, you know what I mean? Just because you're always kind of looking for the next step. I mean, I think you can have not necessarily an easier time, but I think it's in somewhere like Toronto or maybe even Vancouver, there's more of a ladder kind of laid out, like the path is maybe clear because you have peers that have moved up the industry ladder, and so you know exactly what steps to take because you've seen someone else do it. But I think it's very possible to take those steps as an Edmonton band. It shouldn't matter where you're from. When you're on tour, it doesn't matter where you came from. You know what I mean? You're an out of town band. You know what I mean? And saying that you're from Toronto or saying from Edmonton makes no difference when you're in Saskatoon or anything, you know what I mean? It doesn't hold necessarily more weight just because you're from a certain city.
I sure don't begrudge artists that if they're like, you know, get a taste of Los Angeles or New York or Toronto or something like that and go, oh, like on this block there's a recording studio, there's a place where we can rent gear, there's a venue, there's a booking agent, there's a music management company, there's a publisher. Like when Christian and Molly were just thinking of moving, I was like, don't do it. I mean, not just personally because we're friends, but like, if I had that kind of following, not just in numbers, but in the quality of his fans, like, I wouldn't do anything different. I would release 12 different Power Leopards, one every year, and you know, stay here until the love dried up.
As far as it goes, people who are in the know that Edmonton is an untouched, really good place to find good local music. But as far as commercialized music that people can really make a profit off in Hollywood, it's not going to work.
It's almost like there are two different worlds in a sense. It's like the underground sort of thing, that world, and then there's, I want to say, the music industry, like like money.
I mean, you have bands like Tupelo Honey and fucking like 10 Second Epic who have been played on much, you know, and they have their play and they have their radio play, and even the Stereos, a lot of those guys are from Edmonton, they've had their play, they've been all over the place, but you know, it doesn't really make a scratch compared to people from New York who are heavily produced with all the money that can go into it. It's independent producers, I think, that make those artists so big as opposed to ours. You know, it's very hard to find like a Jay-Z or like, you know, some guy from Virgin Records to come to Edmonton and be like, wow, this band's awesome. I'm gonna dump $3 million into you guys just to promote you and make the world love you. And that's the thing, some of those bands aren't even that good, but somebody dumps $3 million in them and fuck, you hear that song every single fucking day. Eventually, your little sister buys the fucking album and their posters are on her wall.
And it's just about confronting people with this product that they can't escape, and eventually, you know, they'll buy it, because most people are just like animals, you know? They're easily trainable.
But with the internet, you can make it big. And if you look at the artists around that have made it some degree of big in the last few years, like Purity Ring made it big before they released a record. You know, Mac DeMarco made it big. And you just see it like Sean Savage is making it big. Christian Hansen did really well. And you get all these people who are kind of blowing up, and some of them did so while they were living in Edmonton, you know, and like they all live elsewhere now. But to bring the industry here, I don't know why the industry would want to come here necessarily. I'm not sure how beneficial it would be. And I don't think labels don't have the budgets they used to, where they would send every A&R rep to Seattle to find the next Nirvana. I think they've smartened up a bit, and they're like, well, while all of our A&R reps that are kind of pointless in this day and age are in Seattle, then the next Nirvana is probably happening across the country.
That kind of is the challenge, though. You know, there was a time where bands relied on record companies. It's like, when am I going to get signed so someone can get me some money so I can record an album and that kind of thing. And it's up to bands now, I think.
My fear with getting the industry to come here is that it would become like Vancouver, and then there would be a sea of people that you're trying to fight through to get to the top. Whereas what Nathan was saying, small town feel here in Edmonton, I like it because there's just sort of this sense of camaraderie as opposed to competition.
Compared to a lot of other cities that I've been to, it feels like it's like a tight-knit community, and that people are happy to help each other out rather than cut each other down in order to get ahead. And I think because of that, people have a better chance to kind of move forward.
I can think of a few bands where the music industry has come to them, or they have sought out the music industry, and I'm not sure if it's worked out well or it hasn't had the lasting impact they hoped it would. And regardless of that, bands have been able to keep going. New bands are forming each day. Bands are drawing more and more people into what they're doing, so I think it doesn't really matter whether or not the music industry pays attention to us, because we'll just keep doing our thing.
It's mystifying to me that with only like probably 7 rooms in the city that consistently do music, it's baffling that all 7 aren't filled every night. Like, we live in a city of 1 million people. The idea that like my room doesn't have a lineup every night, let alone like Pawn Shop, Starlight Room, Bricks, Bohemia, Artery, Studio, Deviate, the list goes on. All those places have lineups every night.
Well, I think that's what like Vancouver and Toronto have going for them, is they have these established music scenes that have been around for like a long time, and like from Vancouver you're getting like all these crazy good indie rock bands that are coming out of there, and I think like that comes with time. Like, it didn't just happen overnight. It's not like Vancouver woke up one day and was like, I have like 100 awesome bands, you know, like where did they come from? Where did they come from?
Like, we find that a lot more bands know each other, and we're kind of, I don't know. Lots of times we'd hear a band and we'd be like, never heard of them. But now I'm finding we're all kind of linked and knowing more bands, knowing each other, knowing the recording studios, knowing the, people in the New Weekly and all the rest of that.
it's been a really like kind of a loving scene to grow up into. Like I've just moved to Edmonton a couple of years ago, and I feel like there's so much support from all kinds of other musicians in this scene, no matter what genre you play in.
Tight community.
Yeah, just really caring people.
I know, like for example, in Calgary, there's like a strong pull towards like there's like a very like thriving garage rock scene. So a lot of bands kind of have that tendency, or they have like an anti-garage rock tendency. Like, but it's all like almost sometimes defined by that. And that's not all Calgary bands. There's plenty of different ones, but I haven't sensed like a genre preference in Edmonton, and that's kind of good. Like, and in that, like I said, the community is kind of supportive no matter what genre you are.
Like it's a pretty helpful community here.
Yeah, everybody's very connected, and even like working at Wonder Bar and stuff, you realize that everybody knows everybody. Like it's a really tight-knit scene.
Isolated away from the major cities like Vancouver and Montreal and whatnot, so all we have to do, really, all we have left to do is just make music. So the scene is like really sprawling. There's a lot of things going on everywhere in all these different directions and all these little pockets, right? There's all these little pockets of communities that are forming up around friends and mutual bands that like each other and whatnot. And yeah, it's not really one scene as it is a massive gurgling organism of all these different things happening.
Edmonton is a music-loving place. There's always people that love live music, and they're coming out to the shows, and that's why we can thrive. It's because there's not only bands, but there's an audience. You know, there's people who aren't in bands who enjoy live music, and that's what really makes everything good. Like the metal scene, the punk scene, there's still people out there that just want to see you play the things that they love. And you know, the fact that there's people in our city listening to our CDs, you know, that are putting them in their stereos and love us, and they come out and they buy the shirts, you know, not just my band, but everybody else's bands, you know, there's people going out buying band shirts, listening to band CDs, and I think that's really good. That's what solidifies like a good music community, where people really respect and appreciate what the people in their community are doing with what they have.
There's always a sense here in Edmonton when you go and see a show, there's a lot of like love in the room, you know what I mean? And that could be a show at Wonder Bar with 100 people, it could be a show at the pawn shop, it could be a show at the Starlight or wherever. There's just a real warmth here in Edmonton.
Every year, every month, there are new bands that I find and can't help but wonder how they aren't more successful on a larger scale. And I don't think it's so much I wonder why they aren't more successful as in, oh, you know, corporate America is keeping them down, but I really see that potential for them to grow. And I think as more and more bands like that pop up, you start to develop a bigger community, and as that community starts to develop, the recognition both provincially, nationally, and internationally will just come naturally.
Like there's no free lunch, like you gotta earn it, right?
Yeah. No free lunch is a good way to do it. Yeah.
So yeah, I think you gotta go out there and get it.
You know, nobody gets any quick success in the city, and you gotta work so hard, not just to be a musician, but just to live in the city, because it's so expensive now.
If you love music, you'll never quit. And being in Edmonton, obviously, there are many factors that can either break a person down as a musician or break a band down as a unit. But if you love music and you love this city, you keep playing music in this city.
Edmonton kind of just does whatever it wants to. And I've always felt that way ever since I moved here. And there's not a lot of concern about what the music industry will think. There's not really a big concern about making what you're doing commercially viable, getting record deals, like any of that kind of stuff. At least in my experience, it's more like we're gonna do whatever the hell we want to, and it's gonna be awesome kind of thing. And that's what we did. You know, that's what I did. And it was Edmonton, the kind of culture here that inspired me to do that. Like, because that's what people do here.
If you're dedicated and you really want your music to go somewhere, they'll make it happen, even without so many big name record labels and stuff like that. I'd say those labels are more helpful to what you hear on pop radio. They're more helpful to those people. For bands like us, we rather do it ourselves. So to us, it's not crucial to have that, but for other bands, maybe.
But I think the only thing that separates Edmonton from other cities I've lived in is that if you live in Montreal, where you're probably living in an apartment that costs you $200 a month, and everyone you know is essentially working for very little money, but doesn't matter because everything's so cheap, then why not be an artist? Why not be a musician? But in Edmonton, anyone who's in a band could theoretically quit their band and get a job where they make quite a bit of money and give up their dream. You know, you could sell it so easily here. And the idea that you're not, that people are choosing to be art, to follow their dreams and to be artists rather than make a lot of money is impressive to me. You know, like somebody moving, or like even in a city like Vancouver, which is super expensive to live in, but everyone there is like an unemployed artist who's struggling to get by. But in Edmonton, it's not the case. You're in the minority. So for you to choose to be in that minority is admirable.
Like, almost, if you can make it in Edmonton, you could probably make it anywhere. Just because, A, getting people to come out is difficult, because if you're not, it kind of seems like if you're not diesel fuel injected.
If you're not being played a lot on the radio,
it's hard to...
People don't really give a crap.
And the city is gonna test you, I guess. They're gonna make sure that you're in it for the right reasons, because if you're not, then you just won't be able to cut it.
So the people who draw crowds of 150 people rather than crowds of 20 people are people who actually support things, go out and make friends and meet people and build their own scene.
You know, like again, just promotions, word of mouth, playing your heart out and one guy seeing it and fucking liking it goes a long way. You know, because that guy's gonna be like, fuck, Saturday night I was at this fucking show, it was fucking awesome. And he's gonna tell everybody all about it. He's gonna look out for it next time it happens, right?
You gotta be pretty tight, like your live show has to be pretty tight. Like, you can't just
and professional
go
looking too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think there's a huge difference between like someone like Rend who puts on like a really tight show and they have like their own lights and all of that kind of stuff, and like a smaller band that's just getting started, even though they're tight, like they just don't put on the same kind of show.
With any community, you want to be a contributor, and there's mutual respect that comes with respecting other people's bands, and as long as everyone is, as long as you're not taking more than you're giving, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if you want people to come out to your show, make sure you go out to their shows.
I don't think it's necessarily the bands that need working on, it's getting people to come out and just like stay for all the bands. Don't just come and see your friend's band and then leave.
The greatest bands in the city are the bands that can appeal to a wider audience without having to sacrifice who they are. And I think a lot of bands are doing that right now. Because I know that there are so many bands that if people just saw them and were able to hear them, people would love that band.
Hey, I play in a band with Mike Headache. He's told more people to fuck off than we can even count.
That's the guy that fucking Oasis shirt.
But at the same time, I think there's a sincerity in that draws people in. You know, no matter how antagonistic Mike may seem, he is genuinely thankful that people are there to listen to these songs he wrote, and that he's been able to bring to a level where people will actually come out and listen to him.
I think like keeping things entertaining, like doing that one thing that might leave an indent in the band's mind, you know? Doing something crazy on stage, and just making that be your thing. And then word will get around saying, like, these guys do this, go check them out, you know? Word of mouth is the best promotion you can get.
I think for anyone that wants to connect with other people and make music that will live in kind of the hearts of people, it's about the songs. And that's where you have to start. The second hardest part is having a really amazing live show. You need to play with the audience, play with each other, like have fun, have the passion, because like no one goes to see a band to be serious. No one goes up and plays music because they want to be depressed.
With Whiskey Wagon, I guess what it was is I just didn't quit. I've had so many band members quit and just leave, and I just thought, fuck, like, I'll keep going.
It's really just inspiring just, yeah, to see, like, I don't know, your friends just having, like, a fucking awesome time.
Yeah, and it's cool to see something different. It's cool to see people do something outside of the
norm, or, like, what they're used to.
Although Edmonton's got some wonderful people, it's kind of like a marriage where, you know, we can't just have one venue owner who's really, 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 really dedicated, you know, and like consistently loses a little bit of money, and it's like, oh, is the bar going to be open this month or whatever? So I wish for Edmonton in the next 5 years, I wish our small infrastructure, I hope that improves, and I see it happening too. I think Edmonton's getting the idea that that music venues are worth paying for, and cool places to go are worth paying for.
It would be so good for Edmonton to be known as an art town, as a music town.
Not just the town that has the landslide collapsed art gallery that looks like garbage.
Yeah, it does.
I believe in things like Alberta Music is like a good organization which is working on building infrastructure for Edmonton bands, and I believe that they'll do that. I think that Edmonton, even just an attitude that Edmonton is a place that you can have as a home base for a band, and that'd be all right. And I think it is already.
My hope is that in the next 5 years, when people think of cities to be considered great live music cities in Canada, they automatically think Toronto, Vancouver, Edmonton, maybe Montreal, Quebec City, things like that, right? But I want Edmonton to be in that upper echelon of, you know, cities that are great for bands.
In the city, I would like to see progress.
Yeah.
Progress with the music.
More venues.
Yeah, more venues would be nice. And more people putting money towards music. Buying CDs, buying music, and just supporting music in general, because a lot goes into it that people don't realize, I think.
I have a lot of pride in Edmonton. I'm not from here, but it's my home and always will be my home. I think it's because I can't see the scene thing so clearly, where I've seen bands blow up in Edmonton. I guess what I would like to see is for all the bands that I love to get huge and for everyone to love them. And then for there to be more underground small bands for me to love that nobody knows about. So I can keep wishing for that. I have a major problem with hating aspects of the music industry. And I have a terrible habit of speaking my mind about it. So I guess I should say that I hope everything that I think is stupid will fail. I think everybody would be better off. And I'm sure the people who run those stupid things won't agree. But yeah, I guess that's it, man, is for everyone to get where they want to be and be comfortable with what they are and to appreciate each other.
I don't know, just play more shows in Edmonton. See more venues come up too. See more people taking the dive into open more. We've got some high mid-range venues, but some of those middle range, those like 150 capacity venues that you have out there, to see more people take the dive into stuff like that.
It's like a snowball, and it wrapped up in that snowball as it goes down the hill are all the bands, all the people, all the venues, all the record labels that have built themselves into this scene, you know. And as the snowball, it picks up more and more and more, and then it just eventually gets so big that everyone has to notice this huge thing. And I think that that's, you know, kind of what happened in those other cities that kind of had a big explosion. But then it always takes a few key artists, right? A few key bands to like really open the door, and that's, you know, what happened in Seattle, obviously. but you don't know who that band's going to be, you don't know where they're going to come from, so it's just important to, like you say, keep going and support what's happening locally, because that's how you foster something really special.
Don't stop. Like there's a lot of moments of just complete discouragement here still, but the moments that are great are amazing and just fantastically beautiful moments.
It's really important too for like new and starting out people to not be discouraged, because it takes a while.
It does.
It takes a while, and the thing you'll find about Edmonton is that it's a small scene, but everyone knows each other. So once you get into it, everyone supports each other. It just takes a little bit of time to get into it.
Take pride in your community, because it's a pretty cool community.
Local music is what people need. They should listen to it. I mean, it's the people of your community singing the songs of their people, of you guys. You know, we're singing about the city you live in. We're singing about our experiences. To not be indulged in that culture is to not know your community, not know your culture, not know what people are up to, what people are doing. So you should support local music, because it's just good for you. It gives you a good mindset of what people are going through in your city with you.
Play music, have fun, support each other, and keep doing it.
Meet people and have fun. Because you're not having fun playing music, you shouldn't play music. There's lots of oil field jobs that pay more. So if you want to be rich and famous, you'll probably be richer and more popular if you do that than your band will ever get you.
Well, I guess as you can see from this guy up here and this guy back here, I have a lot of love in my heart for the city of Boston. Recently I was presented with an opportunity to move to Boston and essentially start a life there. I chose to stay right here, and the music community had a large part of that in that decision. So, hey, don't count yourself out, Edmonton.
Yeah, do your own thing. Don't worry about other bands and music. Just make your own sound.
I think it's the best time ever to be a musician in the city, even if there's not there aren't riches raining down from the sky. I think it's just such a fertile time creatively for so many different people in so many different genres. And I can't wait to see what happens.
A bit too old, what Darwin did, and that the good Lord don't know what he's doing. Don't know what he's doing.